Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Saturday, November 21st, 2020, and today we're going to be talking about the top Republicans who have acknowledged Joe Biden as the president-elect. So Axios has actually released a list of all of these Republicans who have said, President-elect Biden has won the election. Looking at the election results, they don't really see a pathway to victory for Donald Trump, and they are calling on the Trump administration to really start the presidential transition or calling on President Trump to concede the presidential election. So it's no mystery as to why Donald Trump is stirring up these rumors of voter fraud. He wants to be reelected for another 4-year term. He spent the past, 4 years campaigning, immediately filing for reelection the day after he was inaugurated. And when you're looking at the electoral map, obviously things didn't go in his favor. Now, voter fraud would be an easy way for him to sort of push off these defeats in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Georgia. And while there is no significant evidence, or really no evidence at all, of any voter fraud across the country, maybe 1 or 2 people in Pennsylvania, other than that, it just simply did not occur. And on my point of view, the Trump campaign is going out saying that there was voter fraud. They're saying there was voter fraud, whether they're communicating that through the president himself or through their surrogates or through social media, whatever it might be. The Trump campaign is sort of pushing this voter fraud idea that there was somehow significant voter fraud, enough so that Donald Trump lost the election as a result of it. Well, first things first, I want you to ask yourself, if there was voter fraud, do you really think the Democratic Party would be losing all of these House races? Do you really think they only committed voter fraud on the presidential level and then chose to lose the Senate by choice? I mean, that's kind of redundant, but do you think they chose to lose the Senate at that point? I don't think that this voter fraud situation should be drawn on that much longer. It's just very unfortunate in this situation that the election has been drawn on a lot longer than people expected. And, maybe you did expect it, but this election has certainly been one of the longest elections of many people's lifetimes, and I really think that just drawing it on even longer doesn't really help anyone. But the transition is probably going to start once the states certify by December 1st. We will see a number of swing states certifying their results. Georgia's practically certified. A bunch of states around the country are starting to certify. Virginia has certified. Florida has certified. So some of these swing states are starting to pour in terms of their certification. And the court cases aren't going too well for Donald Trump either, might I add. I believe he's 1 in 32 in the courts for his own cases. So the election results show that Joe Biden has won. There's no real significant evidence of voter fraud. In fact, those who are saying that there is voter fraud through social media or through the surrogates of Donald Trump, they are saying in court under oath that there was no voter fraud. They are saying under oath there was no voter fraud because they, number one, do not have evidence for it, and number two, you can't lie to a judge. You can't lie under oath. And, this voter fraud situation, I think that they are looking for proof. I mean, the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, that $1 million is still there. Offered $1 million to anyone who could find evidence of voter fraud, and nobody could. And, that just points out that there wasn't really any voter fraud. This election is over. But I think that's sort of I guess it's redundant at this point. We know the election is over, but let's talk about the Republicans who have acknowledged President-elect Biden, and I think it's pretty important that these Republican senators do so. Now, immediately following the 2016 presidential election, obviously there was an outcry from those on the left. They were upset that Donald Trump was elected president, but we never really saw them sort of say that the election was inherently rigged. I mean, yes, they said there was Russian involvement. Yes, they said that there was Russian collusion with the Trump administration and that Donald Trump used them to win the election. But they didn't say that our American democracy was hacked. They didn't say that there were, hundreds of thousands of voters that weren't alive or that weren't registered to vote, that were voting. When you see those things about Wisconsin and you talk about how there was over 100% voter turnout, obviously, when they have same-day registration and people that are turning 18 that didn't register to vote ahead of time or that have the opportunity to do so on Election Day or that are being told by statewide Republicans and Democrats that you can register to vote on the same day that you vote, we're in the time of a global pandemic. If you can reduce the risk of contact with anyone at the election office or really just do everything all at once, you're going to do so. So while we did see the Democratic Party say, there was Russian involvement, and many of them did feel cheated, 65% of Democrats following the election, January 2017 said, or December 2016, around this time period, 4 years ago, they said that the election was legitimate, that Donald Trump actually won the election. That's comparable now to 12% of Trump voters saying the same thing. 65% of Clinton voters said the election was legitimate. 12% of Trump voters today say the election was legitimate, according to the Economist/YouGov poll. So take with that what you will. Obviously, there was a display of a push away from President-elect Trump as soon as he was elected, but nobody was saying entirely. I guess you could say there were some people, obviously, on the Democratic side, or maybe more so, I guess you could say Jill Stein, considering Hillary Clinton didn't actually call for the recount, but saying that maybe there was some discrepancies and they went through a recount process, which I think is perfectly fine for the Trump campaign to do so, especially in the closer states like Georgia and Arizona and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. If they choose to do so, if they pay for it, that's perfectly fine. But the thing is, you cannot delegitimize our entire election process. This is the same thing that was, brought up against the Democrats 4 years ago. And I just want to point out, yes, the Democrats did say they believe there was Russian involvement. They believed there was Russian involvement in the 2016 election. They by no means said that there were, hundreds of thousands of voters. That actually, at this point, I would say it's up to 1 million voters that the Trump campaign are saying did not actually vote, or were voted for, or were dead voters, or just simply didn't exist. That there was voter fraud that was allowed because Democrats run certain states. This is delegitimizing our election process, and it doesn't help that the president of the United States, how many days out from the election, has not conceded the race. Hillary Clinton conceded the morning after. Joe Biden won the same amount of electoral votes as Donald Trump. This is not a partisan statement to say. There was a very clear difference between that concession and the non-concession that we see right now. And even if you do support President Trump, if Joe Biden, if you don't believe he legitimately won the election, put that aside for a second. If he legitimately won the election, do you think Donald Trump should have conceded? Because as we will see, and I'm sure you will also see as well, following these court cases, which are being thrown out left and right, literally thrown out left and right, not because of liberal judges. There are Donald Trump appointed judges that are not accepting these court cases because there is no substantial proof from the Trump legal team. They're throwing these out, and they're saying that Joe Biden has won the election. I just want to point that out. Once we see certified results, and once we actually get to the electors voting, it's a game over for Donald Trump. If he doesn't concede by then, that will be the only time in history we've seen someone not concede for that significant period of time in a presidential election. And that is pretty important to note. At least you could say in modern political history. Obviously, there were some iffy things about the American electorate maybe 100, 200 years ago. But looking at our system now, the last time someone didn't concede for over a month, I believe, was Al Gore in 2000, not anything after that. So that's that. We will see if Donald Trump does concede at that point. But these Republicans really need to start pushing President Trump. I really think that at this point, we are so far out, we are so drawn out with the election that people are really upset that the election has just been continuously going on. And these Republicans, Susan Collins, John Cornyn, Lisa Murkowski, Mitt Romney, Marco Rubio, Ben Sasse, one of them is from a non-competitive state. I guess two of them are from non-competitive states. And then the rest are from competitive races. Now, Susan Collins has just won her re-election bid. She no longer needs to rely on the support from the Trump voters. She has 6 years to serve out her term, and she's likely to retire at the next one. So she's set. John Cornyn in Texas, he says that he believes that Joe Biden will be the next president because he doesn't see anything that would change the outcome. He has not referred to him as President-elect Biden, but he has acknowledged that there is no pathway for Donald Trump. Lisa Murkowski, she's up for re-election in 2022, but since Alaska has just passed ranked choice voting, she's almost secure. Mitt Romney, he's from Utah, recently elected in 2018, the 2012 Republican nominee. He's been very outspoken towards President Trump. He's the only Republican who voted to impeach him in the United States Senate. Marco Rubio, he's up for re-election in 2 years, but he's looking to run possibly in 2024, and I could see why he would be pushing off this President Trump has won re-election agenda. Also, it would help his campaign because party fatigue could kick in after 4 years, as Donald Trump could now tell you. And Ben Sasse, he's also been a very outspoken senator against Donald Trump, whether it was before he was nominated or after he was elected president, very outspoken at certain points. So these senators have pretty much said that, Joe Biden has won the election, or they have said that there is nothing that could change the outcome of the election. And while some of them are from competitive races, really only 2 of them are up for re-election soon. So moving past that, John Cornyn was just reelected, by the way. Susan Collins was just reelected. Marco Rubio was actually, so he's up. Lisa Murkowski is up. Mitt Romney was elected 2 years ago. Ben Sasse was elected, I believe, actually this election, because Deb Fischer was up in 2018. So let's go ahead and look at some of these governors, just because COVID-19 is a very real situation. COVID-19 is going to be one of the most pressing. It was the most pressing issue in the 2020 election. Will continue to do so in the upcoming special elections or runoff elections. So these governors that are going to be helping their state to get through a global pandemic, they are going to start to acknowledge Joe Biden, just because as soon as he enters into the administration, which he absolutely will, they are going to have to start working with him from day one. So Charlie Baker, the Massachusetts governor, he says, I congratulate President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris on their victory. Spencer Cox from Utah, who was just recently elected to that position. He's not a governor yet, but he will be serving in the upcoming next 4 years. Governor Mike DeWine from Ohio. He is one of the first governors to take a pretty significant stance against COVID-19 in his state. He congratulates, or he states that Joe Biden has won. Larry Hoggan from Maryland, my home state, acknowledged a Joe Biden victory. Asa Hutchinson, which actually was pretty surprising. He said, I expect Joe Biden to be the next president of the United States. I'm surprised that he said that. Phil Scott, not surprised at all. He congratulated Joe Biden, and Kristen Sununu, not surprised at all. So 4 out of these, 4 out of these 7 or 8 governors have said that Joe Biden has won the presidential election, and they are from Democratic states. So actually 4 out of the 7. But we haven't seen acknowledgement from a number of other Republicans. I believe there's 20 more to go. So we will see what actually happens. And then, of course, there are representatives, some of these from competitive races, Will Hurd, Don Bacon, and then just a bunch of other Republicans who have acknowledged Joe Biden's win in the presidency, but that isn't super important. Now, I know you may have heard a report about Oklahoma Senator, I believe James Lankford actually said that he was going to, quote, step in if the Trump administration did not start the Biden transition, just so either candidate would be prepared regardless of the outcome of the election. But he has since walked that back. He has pretty much said that he did step in and that people are twisting his words, but he doesn't seem to be acknowledging President-elect Biden anymore. And also, Marsha Blackburn referred to Joe Biden as president-elect and Kamala Harris as vice president-elect. But after, that sort of released, I believe last night, actually, she said that, or she misspoke immediately following that statement. So that was something that we sort of saw. Maybe Marsha Blackburn, who has been a very firm supporter of President Trump, acknowledging Joe Biden as the victor of the election. But it seems as if that was not the case. And it seems as if James Lankford from Oklahoma, he has no real electoral incentive to actually say that Joe Biden has won the election. But it seems sort of just a constitutional duty at this point. He has said that he is pretty much just walking back what he said before. So all of these Republicans, not that many senators, not that many governors, but as we start rolling into the next few weeks, it's very possible that they start to congratulate him. The Trump campaign, the Trump legal team has still provided no evidence of voter fraud in a number of states. So that seems to be something that will just fall through. They're 1-32 in the courts right now. I really can't see a pathway for Donald Trump to try to draw this on any longer. We're nearly a month out from the past election, and it's going to be very difficult for Donald Trump to try to say that this election was still rigged when, the states are going to certify, I believe, in a week from Tuesday. So they're actually not a week from Tuesday, actually a week from Monday. They're set to certify, and we will see if President Trump concedes at that point. I think he's probably going to end up waiting until the electors actually vote. He's asked some state legislatures really, or we assume behind closed doors, to nominate electors to support Donald Trump despite their state's voting efforts. But that will just seem very much like an actual stolen election. And that would just be very unfortunate for the American electoral process. But the fact that's even possible is something that we need to question in itself. So overall, not that many Republicans acknowledging President-elect Biden's victory. If there are any, I've listed them to you. Some of the Republicans walking back their statements: Marsha Blackburn, recently elected in 2018. James Lankford, who's from Oklahoma, not at all a competitive race. The only reason why I mentioned Marsha Blackburn's election is because she faced a competitive race in 2018. She likely won't ever in her lifetime again. But all in all, these Republicans have been pretty much said that Joe Biden has won the presidency. Besides that, there aren't really that many other Republicans to do so. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2020 post-election videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.